All right, we're going to try something here, boys, just for the hell of it. Welcome to All Killer, No Filler Friday edition. We started talking about what we're going to talk about, and then we just realized, why don't we just try doing it live? The bottom line right now from all parties is that it is fucking go time. It's go time right now. We are in the absolute glory days right now of low-cost inventory. People's stimulus checks are hitting their accounts, and they're not too concerned about the future, I guess, because hydroxychloroquine is going to save everyone. What are we seeing in our accounts right now? What's going on?
Top days, man. We're seeing record days across, 4 or 5 accounts, to the point where we just have to step back and say, hey, this is bigger than just having one thing hit. This is an across the board, cross vertical. There's
cross country, so like not even just the States. Like this is happening everywhere.
Which does go to show it's not necessarily just the stimulus checks. There's more going on. There's this other. I mean, don't get me wrong. I'm sure that doesn't help, or I'm sure it does help. But really, like traffic costs are down and people are buying. Like, how are conversion rates looking for you guys? Like, pretty good.
Yep, stronger. Stronger than they've ever been in some cases, right?
Never been better. Yeah.
In some accounts, you've got the spend being the same, right? Or, scaling, definitely scaling, but, nothing insane there. Click costs are, down since the start of this, but suddenly just this past week, conversion rates are through the roof.
I don't know about you guys, but what we're seeing on some of our clients is that the quality of traffic we're getting, this goes in line with conversion rates, but just the quality of traffic we're getting is so much better. Like AOVs are naturally rising on their own. Conversion rates are obviously higher. CPMs, like usually that accounts, that comes along when you get a big high CPM bump. You're paying more for your CPM, you get higher quality traffic. But for us, we're seeing the CPMs are staying the same, but like the back ends are, it's awesome.
Interesting. Now, do you think every agency, because it's funny, you hear all sorts of different things out there. Big agencies are still doing well on some accounts, but still having to lay off some employees. There's probably a lot of smaller agencies that aren't probably surviving, weren't quite set up to succeed in the way that we've been able to so far. What do you think everyone out there is just crushing it right now? Or, Andrew, you were talking about before about, really having the fundamentals sound, and that's what's allowing us to do so well right now. How do you read that, Andrew?
Yeah, I mean, I think basically the big difference for us right now is we are following best practices, and when we increase budgets, we're seeing results, and that doesn't always happen, right? Sometimes you have to get tricky with your strategies, try bunch of different campaign types or targeting strategies, all that type of stuff. But we have that all in place, and right now when we see wins, we're just turning budgets up and making it work and being very proactive in that sense. So that's really the opportunity that we're at right now is we can double, triple, quadruple budgets, and the inventory's there, and the competition isn't so fierce that the CPMs are going up, and we're seeing CPAs or ROAS stable as we scale.
Algorithm also measuring less influx, like less inputs, I'm sure. So if you have like an exodus of massive brands, the whole travel vertical, I'm guessing makes up like 12% of Facebook. No idea, but I'm guessing it just disappears, and you do that across a few verticals. The algos, like Jeff, you were saying, the algo's gonna have less volatility.
Nice. And Dave, what's your message for clients you were saying earlier? About this being the time.
Yeah, just push it, right? I mean, we're having conversations where we're literally sending the message out to the client saying, rocket ship emojis, fire emojis, best day of all time. And I'm just sitting back saying, okay, double the spend, make it happen. Even if we're seeing ROAS targets being exceeded. So my theory is, as a brand, be willing to bring that ROAS target back down towards even break even in order to double your scale, get more customers, get your product in more people's hands, build your audiences. You can retarget to them for 180 days. after today. And so that seems to be the play. And we've been doing that, I think, a little more cautiously as of, last week, the week before we had this cast, and it's just now more than ever, just take the reading on, or what's that saying? Read the writing on the wall. It's all there. Just do it.
I think the big thing is invest now for the future, right? You're investing at a discount, and that's the biggest kind of takeaway here.
And don't forget your fundamentals. Like, build your funnel, and like email can be a hugely powerful tool. If you can load your funnel up now with users, and you can start remarketing to them through email and digital. Digital ads. You can absolutely crush going forward. Like, you can ride this wave way longer than the cheap traffic is going to last.
We were just talking with a podcast that's going to come out next week, and he talked about educating customers on, he's got a game. It's CROSSNET. I'm excited to release that next week. But he talked about it's a novel game. It's a new game. People don't really understand it. So they buy it, or they enter their email address for the discount. And then he educates the shit out of them on what this game is, why it's great, how to play it. I think he's doing all the writing, but I think that's really something for your email. You really got to think about how to educate people around not just your product, but the sort of like ideas around why your product is great, why it's a good time for this sort of thing in culture. Like, there's just so many different ways you can storytell that lead people into wanting your product. So we're talking about, like, now's the time, the writing's on the wall. It's especially on, the writing is especially on the wall for those companies that do have their back ends figured out a little more. So if you don't have that figured out, like, got to hammer on that too.
Yeah. And one thing I think Chris actually from that last call had really pointed out as a good thing is bridging the content from what you're producing in all channels, and bringing that into your email, SMS. If it's a video, turn it into a GIF, get it in there. As an agency, we're definitely leaning more that direction, because the results are there.
Very cool. Now, and when we talk about raising budgets across the board, like, let's bring it back to lifetime budgets. What percentage of our campaign budgets have switched over to that strategy at this point?
On the clients that I'm managing, we're at roughly 50-50, and we're still seeing good results. It's some of the stuff just hasn't taken, but I think it's just early days, to be honest. But for all the stuff that, especially with low conversion values for us, we're finding crazy good performance.
Nice. And then on the e-com agency side, are we still doing a big portion of our campaigns with lifetime budgets, or is it sort of vary campaign to campaign?
Every single client, we have it in place where it makes sense to scale. We've been scaling aggressively. In that sense, it's been a tool for us to scale. Another campaign type enters the auction a little differently. So we're using it just to kind of double up on proven winning things. And that goes, not just lifetime budgets, that goes for, min ROAS campaigns or different bidding types, pretty much trying it all. And one thing that has also been useful when we're taking, say, a winning campaign that is trying a different bidding method or campaign type is using Facebook's native A/B testing platform. I think they just renamed it. It used to just be called. Their A/B learning platform, but now it's something like Experiences. But basically, what it will do is you build two campaigns as you normally would, and afterwards you kind of go in and you toggle both of them, opt them both into this test. It can be a week, 2 weeks, whatever. And what it will do is make sure that they're not overlapping in audience, so you never have them competing with each other. And we've found that can manage, it doesn't really matter. Like, we'll go in there and manually optimize, but not use it for that intention of getting, a final result in 2 weeks, but more use it so it doesn't overlap.
So wait, Stern, do you use those to like scale?
Well, I mean, scaling is more in the fact that we have 3 campaigns going, but if you have 3 campaigns that have the exact same ads, that have the exact same target, everything, you know, Facebook themselves will say that's not best practice. We all do it, but a way to kind of mitigate that overlap and that competition between those campaigns is using their native tool for A/B testing.
Cool.
And you were saying before, Andrew, about you know, following Facebook's best practices being more important now than ever. I think that's something that we're seeing where we really are trying to mitigate this overlapping, where we're really trying to sort of delineate the campaigns a little more carefully.
Yeah, and like basically, you know, we're always in close contact with Facebook. We are, you know, watching all their webinars, following all their recommendations. Everyone knows they don't always work. And to be honest, you know, a month ago, the hit rate on their suggestions was pretty low. You know, we definitely test it, try it, but right now we're finding like everything they're telling us to do is you know, instant winners. And I don't know if that's different market conditions or different auction conditions, but right now those best practices are serving us very, very well. So we've done a ton of consolidation. We're using all the different, you know, betas available to us or the native tools, lead ads, messenger ads, poll ads, all that kind of stuff. So yeah, it's pretty exciting stuff.
Nice. And Kyle, I wanted to talk to you a little bit about, this is something that keeps coming up on client calls again and again. And it's an area where Pilot House is really strong in, thanks a lot to the internal tool that we use. But so many of our campaigns are thriving with effective sales pages, with you know, sales letters on the front of them, different front ends, whether it be a quiz, whether it be a landing page. I feel like this is something that far too few people still do. So many e-commerce brands are still running to their homepage or to their product page. But just talk a little bit about, you know, our sales page strategy, our sales page technology, and then how brands need to think about using this stuff.
Yeah, sure. That's a really good question. Big topic for sure. I think there's a couple high level things to consider. One, like partners usually specialize in a certain thing. There's your funnel guy, there's your content guy or person, there's your email person, there's your Facebook buying person, there's your Google buying person. You know, we've been around the block, beat up a little bit here and there. And so we really focused in on 2 things with Pilot House. One obviously adds creative content, but the back-end optimization too, kind of bridging the 2. And so ensuring that our attribution from click all the way through to conversion is measured. And we were finding it was difficult to do that in a clean way without building a tool to do that works with other tools out there. And so we did do that. And that does really help us. Putting, there's a few different mechanics, obviously. There's your ads, your copy, but matching your ads and your copy to the landing pages. Landing pages may be in front of your Shopify cart, maybe a different cart. And then obviously your upsell flows. And so, you know, we just kind of break those all down. And we've talked about angles a lot. We do a lot of angle testing. You know, we measure that angle from your Facebook ad or your Google ad or your YouTube ad or whatever it is, down and through the whole funnel, attributing it back that way, and looking at EPCs across everything. It's a really big topic to cover in a minute.
Yeah. Well, I just saw Mohamed Ali Aguel the other day. Shout out to Mohamed. Doing this exact, I saw him talking about this thing. If you're running your traffic to a product page or to your homepage.
Totally. And Mo, like honestly, like we learned so much from him. So shout out to Mo. A lot of the stuff that we built was from a lot of the stuff that we've learned through kind of his work. So yeah, for sure.
Very cool. What else? Anything else on people's minds these days? Last time we were hoped to get more into like talking about, you know, ideas that we were psyched about or new kinds of products or we're just rolling today. Is there anyone have anything on the top of their mind about stuff that's working really well? This last interview with CROSSNET was really eye-opening, just to you know, see how much they're growing, especially when you can come up with a novel idea, right? We don't talk about novel too much because it sounds like novel coronavirus, but novel ideas. When you have a product that's unique and stands alone in the space, especially if there's nothing else like it, it makes every other part of your job easier. So invent something really cool and new. That's my tip. Easy, right?
I know that Kyle, you shared, you know, some of the ads they're running right now. before you chatted with them. And you know, one thing that's super interesting is obviously that's an outdoor product, social product, but one of their ads had it being used indoors, you know, just with the family, right?
Yeah.
And I think just touching on what you were saying before about this being an what Dave was saying before about this being a chance to invest, get new prospecting customers. It's also a chance for brands to kind of reinvent themselves to some degree, and take this chance to really figure out what the way consumers will behave with their product and showcase that, and try and almost insert them into this new, you know, reality that we're all living in, right? And so it all comes back to angles. There's got to be some way that every brand has been affected by this, and in their use and consumption, and that's one thing that really needs to be kind of sorted out, and traffic's cheap to figure that out right now.
Yeah, info products are just blowing up right now too. Maybe it's just because my feed, I've clicked on so many of them to funnel hack and things, but I'm just seeing new info products enter my feed every day. People figuring out they've figured one aspect of their life out, and then trying to spin that into ticket sales. I've got new coaches contacting me all the time, asking me about wanting to build out my personal brand into coaching. So I feel like info is just blowing up right now as well.
I can guarantee you two things from COVID. One, more babies. Two, more gurus, because everyone's stuff is working right now, so they think they're pros.
What are we doing here?
That's what we got.
I think right now they were talking about how hair dye and extensions and eyelash kits and also just stuff like that are just pumping and like flying off the shelves right now. They're saying hair products are the new toilet paper, because everyone's sitting at home, and like you said, Andrew, they're all in this new norm, and they want to take care of themselves. So I think any kind of product or business out there that helps people DIY something they couldn't do before, like meal kits.
We've hit that like 1 or 1.5 month mark, right? So only all of a sudden people are suddenly realizing, oh, I'm not going to get a haircut. I clearly haven't had a haircut. You know, it's like those types of things that people are suddenly realizing. And so these products, maybe in the first weeks of this situation, no big difference. If anything, they were hurting because, you know, people are just uncertain. But all of a sudden, people know that this is going to be the reality for 3, 4, 5 months, maybe. So we got to figure out solutions to that.
And this is the chance that companies have to become part of this new norm, because like we all know this isn't just going to stop as soon as this is over. Like when everyone goes back to work, they're gonna like new habits are being formed. Like fuck, if your company can get in here now and like become part of that new habit, you're gonna crush.
Yeah, exactly.
Uncle Jeff.
I'm Uncle Jeff.
Uncle Jeffy. So it's going to be interesting to see, like everyone was sort of bracing for impact here. And there's been this idea that there's going to be this impact and things are going to go down. And then on the other side of it, things are going to shoot up because everything that people are not doing now, they're going to want to do. I wonder if it's going to have an inverse, like, because now we're seeing this big increase in things. I wonder as stuff does open up, and I really do think for better or for worse in the US, it's going to start opening up. You know, these things are, you know, in the next, not 3 to 4 to 5 months, in the next month, I think you're going to start seeing graduated things opening up. And I wonder what the impact there is going to be. Is it going to like, oh, everyone wants to spend their money on restaurants and bars, so e-commerce stuff takes more of a backseat? I don't think so. I think the whole economy will I think you'll get the best of both worlds for another period there, and there could be another like steep incline.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, I think there'll definitely be a shift to, I mean, if they do open up, like we all know we'd be out on a nice patio. It's beautiful in Victoria today. We'd all be on a nice patio having a beer right now, for sure. But I'd be worried about brick and mortar retail because, I mean, people are creating this new norm. I can't remember, I'll figure out the name of the app, but there's an app that's crushing right now that's helping people do, it's like I don't know if it's a plugin or whatnot, but it's helping people do product fitting, like size fitting, in the comfort of your own home better than you can with just looking at measurements on a screen.
I think that's a good point, Jeff. Like, you know, with my wife and I, we're talking about, we've built these routines. Some of these things are going to stick around, you know, Like we're saving money. We're doing some things that are healthier, some things that are, just quite frankly, a better routine. And yeah, I definitely want to get out on that patio and have a beer. But some of these things will stick around.
Are you drinking more or less?
Way more.
I'm drinking more wine. Like I have me and my girlfriend are drinking like a fair bit of wine.
Give us the amount.
A fair amount.
A fair amount. Have you switched to boxes yet? Or are you still on bottles?
I was a box guy, but nice stuff. And now I'm hoarding. I went and bought like 2 boxes of my favorite affordable wine a month ago.
Cases. That's the way to do it.
Yeah, cases. I think there's a real play for like higher end boxed wine via subscription. I'm sure there's people doing that out there, but I just need like just a new bag. That's the worst part about boxed wine drinking, as everyone knows, is when you've got to like squeeze the dregs out of the bag. And that's
the blood bag. Nobody
likes, sucking on the bag. But yeah, so I think this is pretty successful here. Any other killer to be adding to this No Filler podcast?
We could go on for hours, Eric.
I got one thing. There's a podcast I just listened to. It's from the guys at The Hustle called Exit Strategy. And it's hosted by, I can't remember the guy's name, I'd have to find it, but the guy who started Native Deodorant and took it to,
Moez Ali.
Yeah, sold for $100 million to Procter & Gamble or something. Really good podcast. Goes through everything, talks about traffic sources, talks about everything. It's pretty cool.
And that was in 1 year he did that, eh? Or like 1 or 2 years maybe It was
pretty short. It was pretty short for sure. Yeah.
That is unbelievable. I think one of the other overlooked things about this time where there's a lot of success is it's so good for the team. It's so good for these team members who've got onto smaller accounts and are now seeing those accounts thrive. Like, it's just so good for their progression as employees and as media buyers to start to get this taste of success as well. So I'm excited to see the way it helps evolve the team.
Yeah, absolutely. It's hard if you're kind of banging your head against a wall for a while and you're kind of a junior on account. It's a pretty big life altering moment to get your first big win. I know one of our guys, Liam, he's part of an account. Liam and Raven just took an account from like 5 sales a day, losing money, to 100 sales a day within a week. It wasn't a week right away. I mean, there was like 2 months of really trying to crack that code. And once they cracked that code, you can just see the demeanor change. You can see, I mean, the client's stoked, we're stoked, Raven and Liam are stoked. Like it's a really, it's one of the best parts about owning an agency for sure.
It kind of goes back to like that work that needs to go into it. Like, that's not just a COVID thing. It's like 8 pre-sales tested, a bunch of different angles and content. They happen to be on Dragon's Den. So we took that copy and changed things up and made some amazing ads. And so I think like you're saying, for the team to experience a win and then a huge win, and then a bunch of people experiencing wins right now, the vibe and the energy is just so positive.
We're going to dive into hopefully that Dragon's Den story in a much more in-depth fashion. But to me, the fact we have a client that had a Dragon's Den experience that was not what they wanted. They didn't really get the experience from the dragons they wanted. And then they ended up seeing on the show that their part was cut down. They were just one of those little vignettes that didn't work out well. They got absolute minimal screen time. They didn't get to get their brand story out the way they wanted. But we've been able to take that sort of like bad dragons experience and spin it into something really positive. And it's actually been really positive for the brand in terms of the other investors they've been able to bring on. And then now super positive with the angles we've been able to build for the campaign. So even with having a bad Dragons, I guess the moral of the story is there's no such thing as a bad Dragon's Den experience.
Yeah.
It's about taking every situation. There's always an angle out of it, right? That's just it. Like, it doesn't matter if you're on Dragon's Den or not on Dragon's Den. I mean, obviously it helps, but like, everyone's got some story that can be teased out, that can be turned into a solid angle that we can use to.
Yeah. There's 2 sides to every story. It's just about how you frame things, especially as a marketer. Working with brands to figure out how to apply that pressure in a way that's cool.
And that's funny. That's the story of what we're doing here. We're sitting here, a bunch of marketers talking about the best times of our business, when everyone is going through a fair amount of ambient psychological stress, but it's that exact point that in every cloud there is a silver lining. And with this business right now, we're definitely finding it.
Totally, man.
Yeah, well said.
Cheers. All right, everyone. Well, let's see how this podcast holds up. I hope you guys like it. Make sure you follow us on Instagram, on Facebook. We've got a YouTube channel. We're going to be launching Twitter next week. Lots of great things in the hopper. And until next time, keep it all killer, no filler.